We're live. Hi, everyone. How are
Hello.
you? It is good to see everybody out here. I was just looking at the chat and let's
Yeah,
see.
and welcome to 2023. It's our first stream of 2023.
That's true. That's right. I had to write it the other day, 2023, and I'm still not used to, I'm not used to 2021. I'm not over 2020 yet. Can you, everybody tell us whether we sound okay? We've been playing with our mics and stuff. And do we
Yeah,
both?
hello everybody. I see quite a few of you in the chat. I saw Morg and Jan. Thank you, Jan, for being a moderator for us. And hello, Lee and Laura and Eric and Cassidy.
Hi, Tyler.
And Joanna.
Hi, Eric. Hi, Ren. Hi, Joanna. Hi, Morg. Hi,
Tyler
Jan.
says, sounds good to me.
Yeah,
and
do
hi,
we sound
Ren.
good? Somebody just messaged me, and I was hoping it wasn't somebody saying that they couldn't hear us or anything. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Katrina. Nice to see you.
Nice to see everybody.
Hi, Wojciech. So we sound good? Everything's okay? Yeah, I'm not seeing anything bad.
Seems like it.
Okay. Well, we are happy to be here tonight. It seems like forever since our last one. Thanks, Laura. And oh my God, Cassidy.
Thank you for that. You're so nice.
Cassidy, you are so sweet. And I wish I could make you, like, give you a channel membership, because you've already, given us for years now. So if I can figure out a way to do it, I will do it. Thank you. That is so kind of you.
And thank you, Lee, for the super sticker. We appreciate that
so
much.
Lee. Thank you so much.
And hello. Hi, Aiden and Native Elite Music.
Hello.
Nice to see you both.
Hello. Hi, Gaius Caligula. That's a great name. And thank you, Cassidy. I'm just blown away. I think we should give Cassidy quokkas, because I don't know what else to do.
Quokkas in the chat.
Yeah. Those are for you. Thank you so much.
I know that just blows us away when you guys do that. Thank you. We just appreciate the likes and the shares,
just having you guys here. It's like, oh, who are we going to see tonight? We're thrilled. Thank you so much.
And also, speaking of the support, thank you everybody for sharing our recent debut, Straight from the Source, our new channel series.
And
it seemed like a lot of you guys liked that video, so thank you for supporting that.
Thank you for the comments on those. If you haven't seen it, please definitely go over and look at it. What did you guys think about the both of the videos on psychedelics? Actually, there was so much material. That's why we did the Straight from the Source, to talk about it more, because there was so much that just we were interested in that couldn't make it in. Oh, did Ren come in? Hi, Ren.
Really, we could do a lot more videos than just those two, because there's so much stuff to cover.
Oh yeah, you could do on individual substances, and there's ongoing research. And in fact, just last week, was it? I think I found this out and posted on Instagram that there was 11 states who have legislation up for 2023, and then 3 more were added. Massachusetts is one of them. So I was kind of excited about that, because I'm in Massachusetts, and I think it, like we said, it's going to snowball. There's going to be a lot more. Hi, Joanna. If I didn't say hi to you before.
Joanna, I'm glad that you enjoyed the links that we put in the description. If anybody didn't see those, there was additional resources on psychedelics. A lot of that stuff's really interesting. Even if you don't have an interest in trying psychedelics for yourself, you can understand and appreciate the information in those articles and videos. So thank you for the support. And also, Susan, did you kind of want to tell everybody about the spring store, which is exciting and new?
It's exciting and new, and also disappointing disappointing and frustrating at the same time. So it's a whole,
Yeah,
it's the
it's
whole
all the
gamut.
things.
It's all the things. Our store is active. You can see the tab, and remember, this is just if you want something. This is,
Yeah.
yeah. Don't feel any obligation. Hi, Rebecca. Glad you made it. We just started. You haven't missed anything. So the shop is up. I was playing with it for a long time. Spring is not very friendly to work with. Their website. You'll notice if you look in our store, we have just like every single t-shirt you can possibly imagine, and I think there's some that aren't even on there. Why there's so many t-shirts and the mug is not on there, I have to go play with it some more. But you'll
No,
also,
I think the
the
mug is
mug
on
is
there.
there. Okay, I see.
Yeah.
Maybe different people see different things, and that's also kind of
Yeah.
making me wonder. They're not, it's just not a friendly thing. You don't just go in and say, I want this and this and this and this and this. It's sort of like a whole range of products come up, and you got to look at each one. Anyway, I kind of didn't even know what was going to show up. But if you look in our shop, you'll see some weirdnesses, like a short sleeve, obviously short sleeve t-shirt that has a title of long sleeve tee. And I don't know if the prices corresponding to a t, they were for me, the t-shirt prices, but the title was wrong. I would just stay away from anything that's funky like that. Just don't
Yeah, we
order
just wanted
that.
to tell you guys to be careful before you order anything. There is
Yeah.
quite a few things on there that are correct and look great and are reasonably priced. If you would like them, there's no pressure to buy anything. But there
Right.
are a couple of things on there that are funky that we're trying to get worked out with spring. So
Yeah.
just tread with caution.
Yeah, until I get a chance to, because you can't just go and talk to somebody. I think I have to email them. So thank you, Eric, and thank you, Morg, very much
Yes,
for the
thank you
super
very much
chat.
for that.
Oh, Joanna, yeah, go take a look, Joanna. But just if you really want one, yeah, but just don't go for one that has a weird title or something that doesn't match the picture, because I'm very suspicious until I get a chance to deal with them. So we're excited about it. It's kind of cool. Hi, Melinda. Nice to see you. It's kind of cool to see your little shop show up, but and I want a mug and I want a banner, because I want to put the banner behind me. So I'm also suspicious of having something that size with our logo size. I think I need to take a look at that. So yeah, thank you, Rebecca. You can take a look. I know somebody, I think it was Laura, wanted a mug. But I think there's like an iced thermosy kind of mug, and then there's also the regular one. So whatever, just read the descriptions. But we have a lot a lot to go over with tonight, and then we have our supporters only. Of course, you were. Do you know? Look at this, Cassidy. This is for you. I just pulled off a little sticky. Oh, I think it's probably backwards. Is that backwards? It
No,
says.
it looks right
See,
for
to
me.
me, it's backwards because I look at myself in a mirrored thing, and it says Hyperion Source.
Yeah, I see.
Quokka merch. That's for you, Cassidy. That note that's hanging and been hanging from my monitor for ages now. So, did Ontology Dragon come in? I saw somebody say.
Yeah, and Scorpy.
Hi, Scorpy. Hi, Ontology Dragon. That's 0. Pretty sure that I remember that correctly. Nice to see you guys. So, yes, a coffee mug. Thermostat. Yeah, just tread with caution. Hi, Pooks. Nice to see you. God, we have really, really good group in tonight, which is great because we want you guys to participate in this discussion. It's been a few days for me of, well, and I'm sure Philip too, because we've been going over a lot of different sort of areas in the world that need help.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff happening.
There's so much stuff happening. It's hard to keep straight, and something I'm really guilty on, just letting go. I let my mom or other people tell me what's happening in Ukraine. It's one that I feel very guilty that I haven't really been following. It's huge, but there's other areas that I'm constantly checking up on, and Iran is really big. I'm very, very interested in what's going on there. Um, but it gets you so worked up and awesome, also very, you can feel very defeated when you encounter constant, um, evidence of all the issues in the world. It just needs to sink in that that's how much work we have to do. And and then you just grit your teeth and you get back to, this is the job we have ahead. um, One of the things also I find with social media, and I don't know if you do, Philip, but if you look at people's comments, a lot of times on a story that you're interested in, or something that's
Yeah.
very, that's very disturbing, and there have been some very disturbing things recently. um, it can be heartening to see some of the comments, but it can also be very disheartening when you realize the level of intolerance that we're dealing with in a lot of cases. So we're
Well,
gonna
I think when we see a lot of that stuff, like in the news and online, it kind of invigorates in us something like a drive to want to do something, to be able to help or be active. And so that's kind of why we wanted to have the topic of today's stream be about taking steps to making world change. And there's one step that's commonly overlooked, and that's what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, it's, one of the things that we've seen, at least I have recently, and the reason we decided to kind of use this as a topic is because often, a lot of times in morgues, on morgues videos, in the live streams, and on posts, I see people saying, "What can we do? Like, is there anybody in my area?" It's such an automatic response when something happens. And if you look at the Tyree Nichols that just happened, and we're going to talk about that, immediately everybody's out there. It's what you feel very strongly about something, especially things that are terrible that you want to change, and you want to rush out in the street, be with other people who are also feeling the same way, and take action. It's natural to want to do that. So when I see those comments of people saying, how are we want new Terra, how are we going to make this happen now? And I know for me, one of the things that I've done a lot with watching what's happening in Iran, is think, well, what's the difference? Like, and there are definite differences in a situation where the government is very blatantly being oppressive to the people who live there, and they've already been percolating with unhappiness for many years. And then it takes one thing, which kind of just breaks it's the last straw, and breaks the camel's back. And that is what's happened in Iran. It's not just the head covering, it's other things as well. And I've said this before in a live stream, I'm sure, other issues that were causing problems that people were unhappy about, the economy is one of them, caused other groups to just run out and be with the protesters that were already there protesting what happened to Masa Amini. And that's what's kept it going. Then of course the executions and the basically kidnapping of women. They don't do the same thing with women as they do with men. And the horrific things they're doing to the protesters has caused this to keep going. And I think the world, at least the people who want to see this change, to see it work, are really eagerly watching to see what the world does, how this plays out. And I know with Hyperionism,
well, a lot of it falls under human rights, which we're going to get to today. But a big component of human rights is women's rights, and that's kind of what's highlighted with Iran and especially Afghanistan.
again,
We're going to talk about that
yeah,
a little bit, with them being restricted to education, not being able to get education or
yeah,
enroll in college or schools. We're going to talk about that.
it's
And
horrific.
by the way, thank you, Jan, for the super chat. We appreciate that so much.
Thank you, Jan.
When we're talking about when we're talking about all this stuff today, feel free to put your comments in about how you feel about it and kind of engage with us. And we'll kind of have a back and forth about it because, it's a lot to follow. I know, Susan, you follow a lot of it on social media. You follow the Iranian protesters who put the
Yeah,
information out there
yeah.
because their news cycles are not the same as ours. Theirs is very much run by the government. The information is hard to get.
You can't. Oh yeah, and you can't watch normal news here. You're gonna. Everything is so like sanitized. Thank you, Rebecca, for joining. We really appreciate it. So my point that I was getting to slowly is that we understand when you see something in the world that you want to do something about, you want to rush out and you want to do something and have it change. You can see that it's not fast in Iran. They're really fighting against the government, which has its own basically the supreme leader who has his own military, because the country's military is actually, I think, pretty much more sided with the people. So it's really it's complex, and I really hope they succeed in replacing the government. But it's not something that just is happening overnight. The difference, and this is the thing that I think about, it's like, what do we do about Hyperionism? Because I know that you guys would love it if we said, so here's the thing that we're doing for us, to spread Hyperionism. I'm not talking about the individual, which we will be talking about, all the individual causes. I'm talking about the entire package, like just implementing New Terra, and that comes down to this overlooked step, the thing that people don't realize, that when you have a movement like ours that is so complex compared to something like, you don't wear the proper headscarf, you don't have it right, and then a woman gets killed and everybody immediately understands the situation, they don't like it, and they want to make change. There's not a lot of learning that needs to happen. There's not a lot to understand. They already know about it. Same thing as if you were walking downtown and somebody had a booth set up for, save the bees, because it's very important that, bees are very, very important, and you may not know why, but it wouldn't take long for you to read a little brochure and have some facts given to you, some statistics for you to then say, yes, I firmly agree. I want to get on board with this. Hyperionism is not the same. It doesn't work like that. As you know, well, if you've tried to explain to someone what Hyperionism is, and I'm looking at you, Philip, because you do a whole course on it.
Yeah, it can definitely be difficult to explain because there's just so many components to it, and you have philosophy and mathematics. It's so broad that it's hard to sit somebody down and just say, this is what it is.
Yeah.
You can do that, but it definitely takes a lot of time, and it's not always a linear learning process where you can just say, this is what it is, point A, point B, point C.
So to have a situation where we gather people to then go and do the thing together, it's not the same situation. And the overlooked step, the important point, which we do talk about, but people tend to then forget it the next time something hits them from the news that's terrible going on in the world, and we want to run out again and say, we have to change this. The overlooked step is raising consciousness, raising awareness. We have to do that. And recent events in the world have, shown us that people's level of understanding what we're doing here, just the basics of reality, what is this, is very low. People are most of them completely, as you know, unaware of any kind of unity. It's whatever I can get. It's capitalism. It's patriarchy, power, there's no collective. That's what we need to be focusing on. And that's why when somebody in a very nice way, very eager to do something, makes a comment like in Morg's live stream and says, is there anybody in my area? I want to do something. I want to spread this. This is exciting. And I always feel bad because I have to tell them, I know that you want to do that, and so do we, but we have to do this first step. We have to do this. If we don't get more people to understand what reality is, what we're doing, how we are connected, we're never going to make progress.
Well, I think a big part of it is a lot of those world causes like gun control and climate change and abortion. All of those things, they already have established movements. There's a lot of people that care about those things. And the information that pertains to each of those world causes is very much mainstream. A lot of people know about it, they care about it. It's common to everyone. A lot of people care about their guns, a lot of people care about their reproductive rights. But the thing about philosophical movements is if you walk up to somebody and you say, hey, can I tell you about this philosophical movement? They might say, philosophy, I'm not interested in that. That takes reading and time and understanding, and all of those things don't exactly strike everybody as interesting. So you kind of have to find a way to convey the different aspects of philosophy in a way that everybody can understand, so that we can find that unity and we can kind of work towards a new world, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Excuse me. I'm sorry, I was distracted by some really good comments. Can we take a
That's
look
all
at some
right.
of those?
Yeah, please.
Scorpy said lack of collective causes extreme unrest. Until people realize that the fate of others is tied to our own fate, we are not going to move forward. You can have all those causes and they're fine, and it's we need to do things like that, but until people realize that wellness is not something that you just have and then maybe work toward others, all of this depends on all of us together. Somebody new came in.
Pook
Aiden
says we live in an age where people expect immediate results. That is true.
Yeah, that's another one. People will say, why haven't we done this yet? And I kind of am shocked, because this is a long-term project. It's not a matter of, oh, next year we will have implemented this. This is gonna, if you see the state of the world, especially in the US, which is so divided. Again, when I was thinking about what's happening in Iran and what would cause us to kind of be the thing that ignited change, you have to understand that there's huge divide on what everybody wants. So as we get into some individual things that have been happening, and just the sort of like an update on different areas, for example, just women's reproductive rights. That could have been a thing that united people when abortion rights were taken away. And yet there's a whole slew of people who are sitting there going, yay, I'm not going to fight that. I wanted that. So, it's really, really difficult. It was the thing in Iran was that everybody, or very much a majority, was very unhappy about this and had been for a long, long time. So it makes it so much more understandable that they'd get to the point where it's like full-blown revolution happening. I'm going to read some more comments.
And it's been a long time coming.
Yes.
And what we're seeing in the world Oh,
I was just
sorry.
going to say, yeah, and they've tried it before. I mean, and the government executed many, many people, and it didn't happen. They weren't successful. I think now they're absolutely determined. And again, that's what I'm watching to see whether it, because it doesn't seem like it's going to be the thing. Because, you look at Black Lives Matter, how it was really strong, and then, when just petered out. And again, with this new case, I mean, it just makes me think, why, what is it going to take? Or school shootings or any
Yeah.
shootings. For example, I don't, it's, when is it going to be enough? That's what everybody always says. When is it going to be enough? And we'll talk about some
And
specific
I
things
think
that we
if
can
you
do.
I think if you think about everything that's going on in the world, you can kind of categorize it two ways. We have the large umbrella of human rights, and then we also have climate change. And underneath of both of those different scenarios, there's a lot of subcategories that we have to focus on. I know we've talked about Iran and Afghanistan quite a bit, but also the women's rights, reproductive rights. We have Black Lives Matter. We also have housing and homelessness. That's a huge issue, especially in the United States. California is real bad. Then we also have medicine, which, believe it or not, is a huge component of
Yeah.
human rights, because we have drastically increasing drug prices, prescription drug prices. You look at the insulin prices, the cost that it took to create vaccines for COVID-19, all kinds of stuff like that. And then also a big part of it is gun control, because that does directly impact human lives. And I think I read just last year in 2022, there was 647 mass shootings in the United States alone. And that's just absolutely crazy. But we want to talk about each one of these points, because
Yeah.
there is stuff that we can do there. We have to bring attention to each of these things, and especially with Iran and Afghanistan, that is in a different part of the world, and it's a drastically different part of the world. Things are operated differently there, but you see, those people are us. They are the human species. They are humankind, and we have to worry about all of us and our human rights. And when we look at the violence and the protests, that could happen anywhere at any point in time.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to bring awareness to that, so that we can bring change to those different areas of the world. And it may feel like, living in the US, we may not be able to do a lot here, but we can definitely spread awareness, spread those voices of the protesters and the activists in that area of the world that want to bring attention to the injustices that are happening, the violence and the killings.
Yeah. Well, Morg mentioned healthcare, and somebody else mentioned, I think it was Scorpy, homelessness, of the two things that you mentioned. And I was thinking, what would be the kind of stuff here in the States, North America, that would cause people to, what would be that spark? I mean, and it does happen when people are dying, uh, and hungry, dying from sickness, that might, and not having a home, uh, that might reach a point where, if they don't address it, it's going to reach a tipping point, I think, where it's not doable anymore, and that might cause that final, that might be the last straw. I don't know. That really means going after capitalism, and it's so much vaguer. Like, you wonder why, excuse me, you wonder why people don't get more up in arms. I mean, I follow a lot of um, socialists, and people who complain about capitalism, and it's so easy to see that it's true. Yep, this is true, this is true, and yet, and there's outrage, but where's the action? And it's a very, very difficult thing to get people to actually do something about it. It's so hard to fight. I mean, eventually, yeah, if enough people are dying from lack of home and medicine and, food, that might push it in that direction. But it's not the same as having a government that has taken away a right. Well, I would have thought maybe that the women's right would have done it, but then again, we have a large number of people who don't care about that. So
Yeah.
it's very difficult.
Fortunately, when it comes to the reproductive rights, I have seen a couple states starting to codify that into law. I know last year, Minnesota State, their House of Representatives, passed what's called the Protect Reproductive Options Act, which is going to become law. And that actually bars the state government from attempting to restrict access to sterilization and prenatal care, stuff like that. And it will stipulate the cost of birth control. So there are some states and some legislation that's kind of moving in the right direction, but just not enough.
Speaking of that, I read something. I don't know how. I've heard it one place, and then I looked it up, and it seems like it could happen. But the right, the pro-lifers are, they're very organized, and they have plans for, well, next we're going to do this, next we're going to do that. And I was reading, and I don't know whether I have the notes on this, but they want to go after the being able to send out birth control in the mail. And there's this.
Was that with that pill?
That's no, birth control pills, like just birth control to mail it.
Yeah, and contraceptive.
And I had heard about this, I don't know, on TikTok, and I was like, what? This sounds crazy. And yet,
for a second, I thought you were talking about the abortion pill
that the FDA
not the abortion approved.
Pill. Well, that would also, this has to do with some crazy law, this Comstock, the Comstock Act, passed in 1873 by this very, very anti-vice crusader who did not like anything to do with sex being, all morals, and he didn't want anybody to be able to mail in the mail anything having to do with sex. So obscene books, right? But somehow they included in there birth control, like that, because it was associated with sex. Now, I read this trying to figure out, how are they going to attach that to mailing? Like, how are you going to make that, like viable now? Well, there is a way, apparently, that they could enact this so that you would not be able to mail birth control. And this is how clinics get, and doctors get the pills. They get mailed to them. And it wouldn't just be, and this is the scary bit, if it actually happens, and there's people who are not cuckooing this as something that could not that might not happen, that there's a way for doing it. It wouldn't just affect the states that were wanting this, it would affect all states. So you could have a state that, like you said, protected abortion and women's rights, and yet this would overrule that, so that they couldn't get.
So they still wouldn't be able to get anything.
Yes, by mail. It's really, this is how they ended it. In the next few years, access to abortion may not be a problem only in the states across the South and the Midwest that have chosen to ban it. And it says, while much remains uncertain, one thing is clear: if this Comstock guy knew what was happening with his famous law, he would be pleased. And it's really, that was very disturbing, that they're already trying to move to other areas, not just abortion, but just sort of sneakily. And, they said, and this is, for the people who are critics of this, thinking, oh, that will never happen, because that was my immediate response. They said, well, we didn't think Roe v. Wade was going to be overturned either.
Yeah.
That's true. So
It sounds like a dirty tactic.
very much so. It's taking something really kind of obscure and trying to figure out how you could weasel it in. It's really really disturbing, the lengths that they go to. I know we've
the
had
thing about
so many...
overturning Roe versus Wade is it doesn't stop abortions, it just stops safe abortions.
Oh yeah.
And so you also will see that in the future. If nothing is done about that, you will see a lot of unhealthy practices, dangerous practices,
Yeah.
Things that really should not happen, and it's unfortunate that happens.
There's so many other implications. Immediately women were having problems because a pregnancy is like a death sentence to them, because they couldn't access, because they can't get pregnant. Their body can't handle being pregnant, and it could kill them. So there was that fear, and there was also some medication or something, a procedure, I don't remember what, that some people with a particular condition have, and they were their doctor was telling them, you can no longer have this. And this one woman who had the condition, on TikTok, she on her account, she was absolutely, and rightly so, distraught, just sobbing over this, because this impacts her life, her actual, whether she's alive or not alive. So anyway, I know that you guys are having a great conversation in here. I hope. And I'm sorry that you haven't been feeling well. But I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, I hope you can feel better soon.
What did Lauren say? Something about money. I saw Lee said something. Scorpio said they should be free.
Yeah,
is that meds?
Yeah, I think meaning birth control and contraceptives.
Yes, I agree. Scorpio
says girls will be doing like 200 sit-ups a day to cause abortion. Then they will need A, D, and C. But there's all kinds of horrible methods that people will turn to, because there's not a legal and safe way for them to do it.
Yeah. Hi, Augie.
Yeah, nice to see you, Augie.
Archetype 0. Pharmaceutical companies are about a profit game. I was shocked to hear, well, I'm not shocked, I suppose, and not shocked anymore, disgusted to hear that Moderna, it costs them under $2 to produce the vaccination, at one dose, and they were charging somewhere between $100 and $150 for it. It's absolutely outrageous.
Is that for people without insurance?
I think because they're free, I think that they're charging the government that. I think that's how much the government is paying for it. Yes, heretical response, absolutely. The insulin. I mean, that's absolutely horrific. I don't understand how that's allowed, because
I can't remember what that guy's name was. They called him the pharma bro, but he raised the prices of insulin by like something, wasn't it 300% or something like that? He just raised it for corporate profits, basically. Yeah. But I did see that last year the House of Representatives, in their Build Back Better bill, they added a part of that which will cap insulin prices at like $35 for like a 30-day supply, but that doesn't begin until 2023. So it's nice to see that people are doing something about that. But you see all over in the pharmaceutical industries and corporations like that, they just drastically hike the prices for profit, and it's kind of disgusting, really.
I mean, I came from Canada, so we didn't have when I got back down to the States, I discovered again, because I hadn't lived here in a long time. It is, I don't know how people do it. I don't know how people do it. Well, they die. They die. That's
Yeah.
what they do. Because emergency rooms are not a solution, despite what some politicians may try to say. Um, you know, people are working 2 full jobs just to get by. It's that Scorpio said that. Um, it's really, it's beyond it. Yeah, it's beyond disturbing, and I think that I I I think if something does finally, like become the last straw, it it might be home healthcare, wellness. It might be those things where people have just had enough. You can't, where the obscenity of the capitalism is so rampant that you can't ignore it anymore. Um,
Well, I think another huge component of it is just treating people with dignity. And that's not only with the medical aspect, like what we've been talking about, and the women's rights and abortion rights and all that, but you also see that with the rise of Black Lives Matter in the past couple of years, because there's so many injustices against people of color. And recently, I think you mentioned at the beginning of the stream with Tyree Nichols, that's just really sad and overwhelmingly horrible to see, people being killed over nothing. And I think you watched quite a few videos on
you
that,
know,
didn't you, Susan?
yeah, I watched a very small amount of the
It's
actual
hard.
body cam. Yeah, and I don't recommend watching it. You don't need to. It's exactly what you expect. It's horrific. What we need to do, and I hope that this is one of the things that I hope that this something happens from this, because it's astounding to me that this can go on, and every single time. Every single time this happens, people say, I'm outraged. It's awful. This is terrible." And people, of
But
course,
then
go
nothing
out and protest,
happens.
but then nothing changes. So the problems, because I was thinking to myself earlier, well, what am I going to actually do? Like, because running out into the street is, I, I, I mean, I would do that if if like there was something like the government saying, well, if this many of you are here, then we'll put this in action. Then I would be like, yes, please count me
Yeah.
in that. But it isn't. It doesn't work that way. I think that it's just a way for people to feel like they're doing something. But I was thinking to myself, okay, like what is the problem? The problem is huge, and it the power in that the police have with so little training compared to what you would expect for someone with that authority and the ability to kill
How
somebody.
many months of training did you say
20,
it
it's an
was?
average of 20, it's 18 to 21 months of training, which is incredibly low when you compare it with the rest of the world. And I mean, I had some statistics on that as well. The uh, other countries like Scandinavia, for example, have much longer time periods. Some countries, I think Wales or Great Britain or England, is they you have to have a degree. You have to have a degree to be a police officer. Um, the police killings as a proportion of population, that's the graph I happen to be looking at. I mean, I'll show it to you because it's just, again, I hope that this is the right way around. The US is at the top. I mean, look at the difference between the proportion for US and what's the lowest one? Well, Iceland. But Canada's second, and it's, way back here compared to that. Um, the what the things that stand out to me are very, very small amount of time to for training. But not only that, it's the kind of training, what the focus of training is, and it's on this physical response, taking action. They're much more trained into basically how to pounce on somebody than they are on how to de-escalate a situation.
Yeah. And that's the big part, problem solving.
Yes, problem solving, and in recognition of the fact that most cases don't need immediate force of somebody hopping on top of somebody else and subduing them. Most of them could be taken care of. I think of like in England, when they didn't even carry guns. I'm sure they do now, I'm pretty sure, but for a long time, at least when I was younger, they didn't. They had those little nightsticks, which I'm sure was not fun, but they didn't have guns. So yeah, 21
You mean
weeks.
The baton?
Yeah,
you mean like the
what were they called? Bobby, not bobby pins, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, like just the baton, the wooden thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And but here's something interesting. Billy,
Mark,
hi, Mark.
is in here. Billy
Clubs. Yes, I was thinking Bobby. Yeah, Billy Clubs. Thank you. So here's something interesting. 9 out of 10 calls for law enforcement have nothing to do with violence at all, right? And while they definitely encounter violent situations that could escalate, often it's police officers who are escalating the situation. Yeah, bobby pins to the eyes.
Cassidy says bobby pins.
Yeah, bobby pins. That's nasty. We don't arm the police with bobby pins. But it's 21 weeks of training is far less than other developed countries. But here's some other things that I highlight. Oh yeah, England and Wales, it's mandatory for officers to have an academic degree. And here this is I found interesting. While the US has a lot of guns, we have a lot of guns, and you would think, and I'm sure that plays a part in it, and you'd think, okay, well, the guns are the problem in there, and that is a problem. But Finland has one of the highest gun ownership rates in Europe, with around 32 civilian firearms per 100 people. But incidents of police shooting civilians are extremely rare, and Finland has one of the longest training periods for police. So put those things together. Excuse me. You have, yes, they have guns, but they also have properly trained, well-trained police. And the other thing so it's training, not just the length of time, but what they're focusing on. And also,
I see Elise said definitely better training and psych evaluations and mental health officers for crisis calls.
Yeah, they need the I don't know if you meant psych evals for for the officers, but they need to do that. I'm telling you, the cops that beat up and ultimately ended his life. I'm sorry, I've been coughing all day, so I may have to go away for a minute.
That's all right.
But I don't trust that these guys had very good, would have very good psych evals. Hang on, Philip.
That's all right. We'll get the quokka going first.
Yeah, I guess I'm back. No, I've been unmuting myself all over the place for Philip. Um, you know, oh, oh my God. So you missed Philip and you heard me coughing the whole time.
And
No,
they
wait,
said they
wait, wait,
still
wait,
hear.
wait. Okay, you heard me the whole time and Philip was muted. Oh, fabulous.
Oh,
Fabulous.
wonderful.
So
Can you hear me?
I
Can you
think
hear me now? Okay. Well,
Melinda,
that's
we did. I'm coughing away. I've
uh,
muted myself. Philip can't hear me cough because I've muted Zoom. I'm feeling perfectly good about it. Like I can cough all I want. And Philip is talking away and I can hear him.
yeah.
And you couldn't hear him. Oh, poor Philip. I'm so sorry.
Well, if I
And I'm
that's all
so
right.
sorry.
If I can just kind of summarize
You
what I
did it.
was
You did
saying,
such a good
it's
job, too. I was like, yeah, that's really good what you're saying. Oh my
yeah,
God.
well, if I could just kind of summarize, what I was saying was we need reform of the police system because not only with the training, I went on a long spiel and I've kind of lost a bit of that, but I can't remember who said it to me, but I think it's funny. Someone said to become a lawyer, it can sometimes take up to 8 years to be able to defend the law, but to become a police officer, sometimes it takes up to 21 months to be able to execute the law. And so one of the things I mentioned was it would be really important, like Elise said, to have crisis intervention officers who may be called out before police officers to be able to de-escalate situations. Sometimes you have drug-related situations where people just need some kind of mental health officer to be able to walk them through their situation or de-escalate rather than have a police officer pounce on them. And as I said when I was muted, I'm sure that's not the case with every police intervention situation. I'm sure there are good police officers out there, but you see it a lot, especially in the past couple of years with their interactions with people of color and Tyree Nichols and Breonna Taylor. And there's so many different deaths that were unnecessary that we've protested and no change has come about.
Yeah.
So we're kind of looking at what could be done to kind of reform that system. Sorry you guys missed most of that, but
It was so
glad I'm
good.
back now.
But good job, Philip. Um, yeah, I don't know which one is me. I think I'm the bottom one.
Mark says
Okay.
it's just the fam, so no
It's just a fan.
worries.
And poor Laura's like, oh, I feel so bad. Don't feel bad for me. I'm not choking. I mean, it's horrible. That's my life all the time, you guys. Now you've experienced it. It's not like I'm choking. I can't, water and cough drops don't work. It's a tickle and it's going to bug me until I finally stop tickling. So,
Yeah.
but I thought I would been so good because I went and muted myself so that I wouldn't bother Philip giving his talk. And apparently, yeah, that wasn't. But you did a good job
That's
right
all
now.
right.
And I want to.
Well, since
Oh, thank you. Yeah, for Ren, thank you. I do have cough drops. It's just that they don't really help me. It's my inhaler. I have 3 different inhalers, by the way. So it's not like I'm not. Anyway,
yeah. Well,
everybody's sick of my coughing.
Since we're on the topic of Black Lives Matter, one thing that I've seen in the news relatively recently that I wanted to bring up was there are 3 students in Florida right now who are threatening to sue the state of Florida and Governor Ron DeSantis because he is trying to block, and the Florida education system is trying to block a African American studies course, which is in the advanced placement curriculum. And I wanted to kind of clarify, the advanced placement courses is not something that everybody would necessarily take. It's kind of like a college level learning experience designed for high school students that are in grades 9 through 12, but it's kind of like a pre-college course. And these three students are threatening to sue because the Florida Education Department said that the course is contrary to Florida law and significantly lacks educational value. And I think that's a theme that we're seeing a lot in modern, these last few years, especially with the arguments about critical race theory, all of that stuff. And I think really we are lacking in education, not only in Black history, but the African American studies. If the students want to take it and it's optional, there's no reason that the Florida Education Department should block that. I think they're doing it for a political reason and not necessarily an educational standpoint. So I thought that was kind of an interesting news story to see, because you see a lot of those education arguments happening in Florida, especially when it comes to African American studies.
I think this is my take on it. So, take that for what it is. It just seems like there's so much racism that has always been there, but it was much more hidden. And now it's just, it's been allowed to come up. Same with the Christian nationalism that I keep hearing about, just getting bolder and bolder and bolder, because it's been there, but now those people feel that it's okay to vocalize it. And I think racism is really become something that they're almost not wanting to hide. They pretend it isn't, but I know that with this, don't get scared, everybody. I think I'm okay now. With the in Florida, because what I read, because again, when I hear something like this, right away I want to know, what was their reasoning? Like, what allows them to, what do they stand behind in order to say that? And from what I could tell, they said this is not, the course material was really just like woke. It was just woke stuff that didn't have a solid background. It was just trying to indoctrinate people. So what the school, as far as I know, what the college did was say immediately that they are rewriting their description. And there was a spokesperson for the government saying, well, we're happy to hear that. We're hoping that, I guess, that the course, if they redo it, is going to be less wokey.
And I see both Lee and Elise say it is becoming more well known, meaning the racism, because of social media, that we get to see it all openly. And Elise also says, yes, it's been going on. It just wasn't believed or seen, but cell phones and social media have made it much more visible. And I think that a lot of that, the racism and sexism and homophobia that we see all throughout the country, but especially the racism, that is part of the collective shadow that is just erupting forth, out into the open, because for a long time it was held in, but now there's just no barricades on it, and people are very open and disgusting with their hateful rhetoric. And I think that brings us to the most overlooked step of making world change, which is our topic for today, and that is the elevation of consciousness and the striving towards unity. We have to do something different. And I think it'll be.
Yeah, keep talking. I need to know which one is yours. Which one is yours?
Oh, okay. Trying to figure out which one of us is muted, but we definitely have to do something. And We still have a little bit to get through before the end of today. We also want to talk about climate change, which goes hand in hand with this, but there is just so much to focus on. I think when you're trying to make that world change, it's hard to focus on all of the areas at once. So it's good to kind of find something that you're passionate about. And we'll talk about actions that we can take a little bit more towards the end. Of our stream today. Are you okay, Susan?
Yeah, it's still tickling me, but
Cassidy
there's things I
Cassidy
want to
said the
say.
mute game.
Yeah, I think you're the one on the top. The problem is that the 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 little line thing that goes across, it moves when we're both, like, even if I'm not talking, but you're not talking now, and I can see that I'm definitely the bottom one. So there was a couple things that I wanted to say just on the just on the racism thing, because I'm seeing a lot of, I'm sensing a lot of going on with that, and it's not all bad, in terms of reactions, people taking, like, there seems to be a shift happening, and that's good, because it's a shift in, it seems like a shift in consciousness, in moving up, responding better, and I see a lot more allies coming forward, recognizing that you can't just say, "Oh, I don't believe in racism. Racism is terrible." You have to be you have to be proactive about it. You have to stand up. You have to be a voice. You have to not accept it, not allow that. Speak up. You have to support, because otherwise it's what was it, white silence is violence, or something like that, and I because you can see the point there. If you're silent, you're definitely, you're not for racism, but you're not active, you're not calling people out, you're tolerating, and that's wrong. I have really been made aware of that, and recently, and I see a big change in that. And then I just wanted to say something else, just to go back to the police. Yeah, Laura. Yeah, that has been an eye opener for me, specifically, on racism, because I follow some really amazing people on TikTok who are very educational oriented. And again, TikTok, you can think, oh my God, what a pit of grossness, but it's not all like that. You have to be careful with your algorithm and stay away from garbage. There's a lot of garbage on there. You find good stuff, and you can get a lot of very good information from people who put together educational, informative pieces, and spend time doing it, and doing it well. Now, I'm going to just go back to the police thing, because this was important. And when I was coughing and you were talking, I don't know whether you said this, but most of the training in the U.S. is focused on various types of the use of force. Okay, so even though it's not a very long period of training, most of it is spent training for force, the various types of physical force. The communication skills are largely ignored by most police academies, and that is something that you're going to need if you're out in the field doing a lot of these calls. You don't know what you're getting called to do, and the fact that
It's mostly shout commands and tackle.
Yeah, and it says, this is why you see officers, this is a quote from somebody who was being interviewed, this is why you see officers very rapidly escalating from initial communication to the actual physical use of force, because this is how they train them to do that, rather than to de-escalate. And on the footage, which I don't recommend you watch, because it's exactly what you expect, it's just brutal, that it should never have happened. It was not necessary. It was people who were being violent when their safety was not at risk. They were just angry, and that's not what they were hired to do. So Yeah. Oh, school shootings. Yeah. Um, yeah. On the racism thing, Scorpy, I someday, and I know we always think about Star Trek. We always talk about Star Trek in this kind of situation. Someday it'll be like that, where that's just not it's just not considered. Where, um, I don't believe in uh, trying to say that no, you don't notice color. I think we should appreciate differences. We should celebrate.
Diversity.
Yeah, yeah. It should all be wonderful. What you don't want is one group to say we're better than this other group. It should all. You should, you know, um, really just you be who you are. Show us who you are inside. That should be how we look at people. Not, oh, you're that color, therefore you're not worth anything. Um, uh,
And I saw Aiden said also because they want more criminals, and that's a whole other
oh yeah,
ballpark with, prisons for profit and things like that, and targeting, lower class people and people of color.
yep.
That's a whole
That's
other topic of conversation as well, but still
yeah,
very valid.
yeah. It is, and the more you find out about that, though, it's absolutely disgusting. Um, well, then kids have friends of different colors. I'm not sure what you meant there. Well, when kids have friends of different colors and the mandatory reading is about racism, that shocks them. Who's talking about the mandatory reading? I like the idea that when you have kids together, they're just kids. They don't know anything. They get taught racism. They just want to play. Little kids just want to play. You know. Elise, what you're saying about escalating, and then they put people in the fight or flight. Um, Absolutely. In this the case with Nichols, um, Tyree Nichols. I mean, you beat somebody up, and then he has a chance to run away, scared to death, starts running. You cannot blame him for that. You can't blame him for that. It was he was complying, and they were beating him up, and this was just the first part.
And even if he fled for a short while or a long while, it still doesn't warrant
Nope,
taking his life.
no, it doesn't. All I don't even know what the stop was about. I don't even know, erratic driving or something. It was just wrong. It was just wrong all around. Um, really, Laura, that's awful. That's awful. When I was little, we had my parents didn't know where they bought the house because it was situated in a place that was good for close to where my mom worked, so she would be able to come home for my sister and me, and not too far from where my dad had to work. So they didn't check out the neighborhood. My parents came from Toronto, big city. They didn't realize they bought a house in a very white neighborhood. And I remember in the 60s, the civil rights, my mom went knocking on people's door with to get people to support civil rights. And she had so many doors slammed in her face. She still remembers it. This was like the late 60s. I was little. And the only person who signed was the local minister, who she said he gave her this pitiful smile, like, you poor woman, what are you doing? Do you know where you're living? And of course he signed, because he believed in it, but he knew she wasn't going to have any luck. And and there was one black family that moved in, and I remember thinking, there's a black family in the neighborhood, and they didn't last long. I don't know what happened. I'm sure it wasn't because it wasn't from us. It wasn't right near us. But I I would guess that they just couldn't handle it. I'm sure that the people were terrible to them. Yeah.
Well, that's very sweet that Mom Mitchell did that. I call Susan's mom Mitchell. That's very nice that she would go and knock on all the doors and raise awareness and try and do her best.
That was my parents. They didn't know any different, and they were we were the weirdos in the neighborhood. We were definitely none of the mothers worked. They were all stay-at-home moms, and they thought that she was very strange. But anyway, yeah, Mark. Oh, and that was true even before the rise for profit prisons. I'm sorry, Laura, that you weren't allowed to play with your friend. Oh, you did? Oh, wow. Yeah, good for you.
You guys have made a lot of great comments today.
Yeah, which is what we wanted. We were hoping that there would be a good discussion.
Yeah, have a conversation with you guys.
Yeah. And
Mark says it's a matter of the way officers are trained to look at situations on the front end. Yeah, definitely. Well, there's a lot of problems with the system.
They're taught to basically apprehend, and they're trained to for action. They're not trained for communicating and de-escalating and trying to sort through a problem. And I think it was Elise. I think that you were posting about somebody that you knew whose sister called, because I did see your comments. Your sister her sister called, or his sister, for 911 for help, and the police ended up shooting him. Can you imagine? You're calling because someone has a mental health problem, and they end up being killed. Like, I think that was it. Yeah, prisons are for profit, Scorpy. Yeah, Joanna, thank goodness, not prone to toxic teachings. So many people just get from whatever their parents say. They just learn from their parents. You do hear the stories of people who walk away and learn better. I hear more of that in terms of people who have left their very Christian conservative families. I follow some very open people now on TikTok as well, who offer really, really good information. They've left very toxic right-wing families, and that's sad too. I mean, it's sad that you have to leave your family, but you don't want to partake in that anymore. So what are you going to do?
Yeah. And I think there's been so much that we've talked about today that all falls under the umbrella of human rights. But also, since today we're talking about making world change, not to kind of drastically pivot to this other point, but we do have just a little bit left. We also have to talk about climate change, because if we're going to make world change, we also have to focus on the world, the planet, and the climate. And lately in the news, you see a lot of different arguments about the conservation of depletable resources, like the rainforests that are getting torn down, and coal and oil and minerals, all these things that are being mined. We're very much dependent on oil and fossil fuels for which is a driving factor of climate change. I don't know if anybody saw recently in the news, Greta Thunberg, who I kind of like, was detained in Western Germany at a protest against expanding a coal mine. And this coal mine, they had to either they're going to or they have moved this village, which was in the way of the coal mine, so that they can deplete all of that and mine it up. And a lot of the dependency on these natural resources kind of is killing the planet, whether we want to agree on that or not. You see a lot of things like with oil spills. When I was in school, I remember reading about oil spills into the ocean and seeing all the pictures of the giant pools of oil just spewing out, killing the marine life and the environment and stuff. All of that is really horrible. And we've seen a rise in electric vehicles and different things that may have a benefit. But also, one of the things I wanted to mention was recently we saw that nuclear fusion breakthrough at what's called the National Ignition Facility in California. So, what they do is they have these laser beams that force atoms of hydrogen together really tightly, that creates energy kind of in the same format as the sun, how the sun creates energy. So that's kind of a promising form of energy. If we could get the engineering and the funding to perfect that, it could be 20 years, it could be 50 years, but that would help us create self-sustaining fusion and create clean and endless energy. That would be something that would be really beneficial to the planet and humanity. I see you're wanting to say something.
Well, yeah, that was I think I saw a little bit of that. I didn't read a lot, but that was the first time I think that they got more energy out than they put in, right? That's what the excitement was about. Yeah, that would be really good because you know, that's something I didn't think they'd be able to do. So oh god, I'm gonna start coughing again.
And I think I read that it's the opposite of like power plants, because with power plants, they're tearing atoms apart. And this is actually fusion of atoms, which would create energy.
Yeah, you don't have the waste that you do with the nuclear power plants.
Yeah, and the horrible radiation.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's God, it's been such a long time since I've looked into that, but it's like clean energy. The problem was that it required so much. They couldn't get the energy out. They couldn't get. You need more energy than you put in, or that's not going to work. Yeah. So hi Kim, and hi Aiden. Thank you so much for your super chat, and I love your little dancing person. And hello, Face the Absurd. Nice to see you. Thank you very much for your super chat.
Yeah, thank you for the super stickers.
Yeah, super stickers. So, that's what they are.
So the point of today's talk, I was glad that all of you would come and listen to us speak about this. What the main overlooked step is to making world change is the elevation of consciousness. And I know we've mentioned that a couple of different times, but we really have to drive that home, because we have to raise the consciousness of humanity to be able to change humanity. And earlier I talked a little bit about the collective shadow that's kind of bursting forth with the racism and sexism and homophobia. All of that comes into play. We have to figure out how to change the world in a healthy way so that it will benefit all of humankind and the planet. And if you've watched our videos on psychedelics, last time we were also talking about the elevation of consciousness by legalizing psychedelics and ending the stigma with that, and using those for different types of therapy and helping with addictions, all kinds of things that can benefit humankind.
Okay, so here we go. Heretical response. What actions can we take to change things? Can we go door knocking with your newsletters? Okay, so really, as I started out by saying, everybody wants to do something. Now, when it comes to Hyperionism, because it's just impossible to get people up to speed. You can't just give them a few facts and say, are you on board? Because people don't understand it. So when we talk about raising consciousness, that is for the whole picture. That's for realizing New Terra. Okay, so what we're doing by gathering together here inviting people to come to live streams, watch videos. One of the things I thought that you can do without having to be an instructor is to, oh, and speaking of that, Philip, maybe next time, or if we do a like a mid-month quick live stream or something, because we did want time to talk about, or we can talk about it in the supporters only. We wanted to talk a little bit more about, oh, Pooks, you just got a membership from Elise, because Elise is so generous. Thank you.
Thank you, Elise, for doing that.
One of the things is that you know, the whole course we're going to pick up at some point, and people can get, thank you, Elise, oh my goodness. And that is so kind, and Wojciech got it. So, but when it comes to just trying to get somebody interested in Hyperionism, let's say, I was thinking one of the best things, if you know somebody well enough to be comfortable to have them come to your house, you don't mind that, then invite them over, not so that you have to explain what Hyperionism is, but just say, hey, do you want to come over, and I have videos, I'll make popcorn or whatever, and I have videos that will that we can watch together, and you can
and kind of have discussions about,
and have discussions, but and then we can help you pick out some of Morg's videos that give you some basics. And then you could do that together. And just all you want to do, if you're trying to help spread Hyperionism, okay, and you want to know what kind of activism you can do, that is something that would then bring people in and hopefully get them interested enough that then they become people who come and join in on the you know, in the sort of the live stream, because this is our community. But when it comes
thank you,
to
Laura, for your, sorry to interrupt.
Oh,
thank you, Laura, for your
ongoing
support for 7 months. Much appreciation to you for all you teach and do. Thank you. And also Eric gifted one Hyperion Source
and
membership.
Lisa. Thank you, Lisa.
And Aiden got that membership.
Awesome.
And thank you, Lisa. These discussions are always great. Thank you. We appreciate that. We're glad to hear that you like them.
Yeah, and we will continue this in the supporters only. But I guess, yeah, because we're getting close to the end. In terms of things that you can do, because everybody wants to do more. It's just, okay, so I just get people to sort of come in and watch videos or something. Yes, that really helps, because that's for Hyperionism in general. However, when it comes to particular things, like I've been thinking okay, Iran is a good one. Something that I do only because I've been told. I watched Iranians speaking about this, saying how important it is to save lives by simply sharing and hashtagging. The government is watching, and they have stopped executions of people who were really being supported widely. They're afraid to execute them. They don't want, they can see that people are watching, and they don't want the backlash. So that's something you could do in a situation like that. I'm not huge on that kind of thing for a lot of other causes, because I don't know how effective that is. I will post something about something that really bothers me, and today I did post about on Facebook about Tyree Nichols, and I was thinking, what, I'm pissed, I'm angry, I want to do something. And I realized, okay, I know what's wrong with the police force, at least, and I want to know what my local and state government is doing. Like, so contact your representatives, your state officials and senators, for federal.
And that can be about a wide range of stuff too, because
Yeah.
there's a lot of global causes that
Yes.
are aligned with Hyperionism.
But
So, if you want to talk about the human rights, the women's rights, Black Lives Matter, climate change, or any of those things, like what Susan was saying, contact your congressman or find people in your area that are getting, together and doing stuff.
yeah, I mean, specifically for this, the police thing, I want to know about extending training on in areas that they obviously need, even though maybe there isn't one of these horrific events in your area, it doesn't mean that it won't happen, that the police, because the police seems to be a problem all over. So so that's what I'm planning on doing, specifically for this. Now, we can't apply that kind of activism to Hyperionism. So for spreading Hyperionism, it's the consciousness raising, and that will also benefit all these other issues, obviously.
Yeah.
But I know that people want to do something, and they want to do something now. So that's kind of how you can handle that. So
you can educate yourself and find out if there's any legislation that's happening on these global cause issues, and you can create and share content to spread awareness to other people. There's a whole myriad of different ways that you guys can do that if that's what you're passionate about. And you have to kind of get active with the things that you want to see changed.
mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, Eric, what membership level are you at? We have 3. We don't have. It really comes down to what level do you want to support us at? Because I didn't see any reason to exclude the lower levels from coming to the supporters streams. That just didn't seem right. So all the supporters get to come to the stream. Eventually, we will have some other perks, I think. Certainly, I think the top level can offer like script ideas, things like that. But you're at Wavelet, so you're at I think Wavelet's the lowest one, which is like $2 a month. By the way, anybody who isn't a member, it's only $2 a month. So that's like $24 a year. And because we wanted to make it accessible, I think the next level is 5. The next level up is 5, and the next level up is 10.
Like 7 or 8.
I don't know. Yeah, it might be 10. But thank you to all of you who are members. Really, really appreciate it. Elise said yes, and look into what's being voted on regards to local police issues and budgets, and write in community comments and feedback. Yes, definitely. I mean, I don't know, this latest killing is, again, the shocking, disturbed, none of those, outraged. We've been through it. It's and things aren't changing. I think we have to do more. I mean, you want to run down to your local station and demand to know what they're doing to not have this happen. Yes, at least they took immediate action against the 5 police officers, but and maybe that will have some deterrent, maybe holding them accountable, but that they also have to be trained properly so that they don't do these things. And also, something is wrong with you if you feel the need to beat up somebody who's already subdued. That goes without saying. Something's wrong there. So I think we're going to end, because it's that time, and we're going to hop over to the supporters. We'll be in a few minutes. The link, by the way, is,
hopefully we see all you guys there.
Yeah, I hope so. And there's a bunch of people who were just gifted from very generous people, and so I hope you come in as well. look for the link to the supporters one. Thank you, Morg. Look for the link in the community board on our channel. And Cassidy, another thank you.
Yeah,
So
more quokkas in the chat for
oh
Cassidy just one
yes,
more time
yes.
before we
And
go.
you saw the quokka for a long time while I coughed at you. So I
Yeah.
apologize again for that.
Yes,
But
thank you guys for your support, and don't feel obligated to super chat anything if you don't want to, but we certainly appreciate all the support that you guys give us with the likes
oh
and shares and
yeah,
all your great comments and support on our videos.
honestly, just being here is awesome for us. So we appreciate that. And we will see you, if not earlier, because I always miss it when we're not live streaming every week. And hopefully, maybe we can sneak in a shorter one sometime if we have something to say. That's why it's good to get notifications, put notifications on, and check our Facebook page, because that's where things go up. But if not, we will see you all next at the end of February already. Oh my goodness. Okay, but we'll be in the supporters only in a little bit. Oh, okay. Yeah, I think you are. Are you a supporter on the other one, Heretical? Yeah. Hopefully we'll see you in there. Thank you guys. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you, and good night.
Good